Hi everyone, it's Andrea. I hope you're doing awesome. Super excited to show you how to sew this new design. I've been working on this for more than a month now. I've worked out all the kinks. I also have a step-by-step PDF tutorial for you, which is optional. I will link to my Etsy shop for you down in the notes. This is a great multi-purpose organizer which you can use for a variety of things. It rolls up nice and tidy and you secure that with the tie here. It can also be hung up. Each compartment is fixed there and has a nice secure zipper. The styling of this allows for you to have a little bit of workspace in between each compartment. It really is one of my all-time favorite designs. I woke up one morning and I had the idea for this project and I just dropped everything else that I had going on, built out the prototype, and I shared a photo with everyone. There was a lot of interest in this project, so I promised I would put together a comprehensive tutorial for you. As part of that process, I have made multiple prototypes so I could work through and troubleshoot anything that might be an obstacle for you. So I have worked this down to be a foolproof, step-by-step process for you, which I have very concisely outlined in the PDF, which you can purchase for a nominal fee and support the channel, as well as this video, which I will show you step by step how to make this new design. So shall we get started? Okay, we are going to begin by crafting the 3 zipper pouches for this project. I have 2 of those already made. I am going to demonstrate the process for you step by step here with the 3rd one. So you're going to need a 10-inch cut of zipper by the yard and a zipper pole as well as 2 10-inch squares. You're going to take that zipper and you're going to position that right side's facing on one of the panels, and then you're going to bring over the second panel and position that right side's facing to create the zipper sandwich. I like to put a clip on each end there to hold that. Then you're going to stitch all the way across that top edge. I'm using a 1/4 inch foot so I can get nice and close. If you have a zipper foot, please do use that. And then once you stitch across there, you should have your zipper attached, and there will be a remaining edge of the zipper which we will bring up the opposite edges and align that along that zipper tape to create the second zipper sandwich. And same thing, if you just put a clip on each end, that is sufficient to hold that, and then you will just stitch through all 3 of those layers again. And now you should have your zipper in the center and 2 cylinders on each side. This kind of reminds me of an infinity sign. And so now you want to determine which side has the zipper teeth, right side up, and that is the cylinder that you will turn right side out. And that lining just naturally goes into place, and you can reach in there and smooth everything out so that you now have 1 cylinder, which reminds me of the wintertime muffs. And so you can see the lining is in place and the exterior is in place, and that zipper is right down the center. Now, if you're really comfortable working with the zipper by the yard, you can go ahead at this point and just manually open that zipper up. If this is your first time working with zipper by the yard, now would be a good time to put on that zipper pull. And you'll do that by just separating the teeth just a little bit at one end, and then working with the front of that pull or the larger opening. Thread that pull on one side and then fit in the second side, and then just put that material down on your surface, put your fingers on each side, and it just takes a little finagling. You have to stabilize that fabric at the top, and then you should be able to pull that right on. I like to go as close as I can to the other edge without going over, and then open those teeth manually, and that just lets out that little bit of slack that happens when you feed on this zipper pull. Now, again, if you're not really comfortable working with the zipper by the yard and threading on those pulls, go ahead now and top stitch on each side of this zipper to secure the exterior and the lining together. So you will put this up on the machine deck and stitch right along that zipper. You will unzip the pull as far as you can without unzipping it, and just carefully work around that pull to top stitch all the way down. If you're very comfortable with zipper by the yard, you do not need to put on the pull yet, and you can take advantage of having this great flat surface to top stitch your zipper. And I will do the same thing on the opposite side. And now I have top stitching that has flattened that and securely attached the lining to the exterior. Now I will fold my zipper back over, and at this point thread on that zipper pull. Now just getting both edges in there, and then I'm holding that with my hand to stabilize on each side of the pull, and voila, my zipper pull is on and the zipper functions beautifully. I have my top stitching in place. Now I want to center this zipper, flatten this piece out, and using 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, I'm going to stitch along these short edges. You should be able to stitch right through the zipper teeth. If you have any concerns, simply hand crank through those zipper teeth. And on this end, I like to again zip that up as much as I can to keep the teeth close together. And now we will use a French seam to encase these raw edges. So I want to trim to the right of the stitches I just made and make that a nice skinny 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And then I will unzip and turn this wrong side out. You don't want to apply too much pressure yet at the ends of the zipper, but you do want to get the corners poked out. And then flatten that nice and come across the short edges again using 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. You do want to take care that your zipper pull is out of the way, because that will break a needle. And it is that stitching that then encases those raw edges that we had on the exterior. So now we have finished edges on the interior as well as the exterior. So before we turn this back around right side out, we want to give this pouch its depth. So we're going to work with each corner here and fashion a triangle. So those short edges will now get bumped up to the center and be the peak of our triangle. We're going to measure across this spans 2 inches, and I think it is very helpful to measure and mark this stitch line so you are consistent. So I'm just marking 2 inches across there, and that's where I'm going to stitch. And that is what will create the depth on each side. And so I will repeat that process for all 4 corners, bringing that seam to the center of my triangle, and then measuring a 2-inch distance in which I will stitch. Okay, you do not want to trim off these corners, but you do want to trim up any stray threads. And then at this point, you can turn the pouch right side out. These little corners add stability to the pouch and allow it to stand upright without any interfacing. And so in total, you are going to need 3 of these little pouches. So repeat that process so that you have 3 zippered pouches. Okay, now we are going to prepare the exterior or the frame for this project. And so you're going to take your 10 by 20 inch piece of material and you're going to mark off a 3/4 inch seam allowance all the way around that. And that's what you can see here in the blue that I have marked. And then you will go to your iron and you will press over your long edges right along that 3/4 inch seam, and you can open that up and check and make sure in fact you landed right on that seam. And then you will press over your short edges 3/4 of an inch. And then you will repeat that process again, just folding over the long edges 3/4 of an inch to both long edges, and then come and do your short edges again. And all the edges are finished, okay? Now we are going to miter these corners, so don't worry, these bulky edges are not staying put, but all of these press lines are essential to creating a nice finished mitered corner. So once you have all of those press lines in place, peel this open so that it is just back to the one fold, and now you have the raw edge here. You want to then go up to your corners and fold over each corner so that this short raw edge aligns with this long raw edge, okay? And that creates a nice corner there, which is 2¼ inches across. All right, so this span is 2¼ inches. When you press that, I like to mark that press line. Again, I'm using that blue marker to mark that. These are still raw edges here. I am going to fold that fabric back, right sides touching, and I'm going to align those blue edges on both sides. So this is an angle that's like this. I have this little flag tail here hanging off. That's your first clue that things are going well. You're going to stitch right across that blue line, which is that 2¼ inch press that we made with the triangle. Okay, once you have stitched across there, then it is safe to trim to the right of that 1/8 to 1/4 inch. And it is then that when you poke that back around, this edge will fold back over on itself. This is completely finished and you have a beautiful mitered corner. You're going to repeat that process with all of the edges, okay? If something goes wrong in this process, it has been my experience that it is usually because you did not fold this back so that it's a single layer before creating that triangle. So the order of operations here is essential. Please rewind if you need to until you have mastered this technique. I'm going to go ahead and fashion the remaining 3 corners. After you get your corners turned back over, I like to take a little poker stick or chopstick and gently, very gently poke out those corners. Then I will head back over to the iron and give this a good press. So after you have pressed your piece, now you need to measure that and get your finished measurements. So my finished measurements are 6 3/4 by 16 3/4. Yours may vary slightly. Okay, so now we are going to cut the lining a 1/4 inch smaller. So it will end up being approximately 1/8 of an inch on each side we'll be taking off. But for simplicity, we'll just subtract a 1/4 inch. So I'm going to cut my interior 6 1/2 inches wide by 16 1/2 inches long. Again, please measure yours and adjust as needed. Now this panel here is going to get backed with a piece of non-fusible heavyweight interfacing. So I am using a Pellon product here. You are welcome to use what you have on hand or what you prefer, and just trim that up to the exact same measurements. I do like to give this piece a good press after I have the interfacing on the back. Okay, so this is the exterior frame. This is the framed edge, which ultimately will secure our interior panel. This is what the back of the exterior looks like. So it's nice and finished. These corners are pristine. And then I have my interior, which I cut to fit exactly inside of that frame, and it is backed with the heavy interfacing. Temporarily, I'm going to set aside my little frame, and I am just going to be working with the interior panel here, which has the interfacing on the back. I want to take my pouches and position that on this lining panel, and I'm going to take the right hand side and bump that down 2 inches on this frame, and then you should have these unzipped at this point, and you may have to flatten them a bit. You're going to pin these zipper compartments to this panel to hold them in place. It's important, I think, to have all the zipper pulls on the same side. So working now with the left hand side and another zipper compartment, we're going to measure down 2 inches and then pin that in place at center. And then the remaining zipper pouch will be centered in between these 2 pouches, Make sure your zipper pulls are all on the same side. Center that so you have a little space in between, and go ahead and put a pin in there to hold that in place. Now you're going to work one at a time and put these up on the machine deck and just run a row of stitching right down the center of that zipper compartment to attach it to this lining panel and the interfacing. So once you get on the inside, you can back that up as far as it will go, lower down that presser foot, remove that pin so you don't stitch through that, and be sure to back stitch at the beginning and the end. And just stitch as far as you can comfortably go to hold that zipper compartment in place. You'll repeat that for the remaining 2 panels. Okay, so now the zipper compartments are each attached with a single row of stitching down the center of those, and that just allows you to work without pins or clips. So the next step is to bring back over your exterior frame, and you are going to begin at the short edges and tuck that lip underneath that frame on each end. And then work around the side edges here and tuck that under the frame. And you should have something that looks like this. And then what you want to do is on each side, short end of the zipper compartments, tuck that underneath that frame. And at this point, I think it's easier to use pins. You may prefer to work with clips, but you're just tucking a little bit of that edge from your zipper compartment underneath the lip of that frame. I would say it's about a 1/4 inch of that is being tucked inside of there. All right, so now a little bit of each short end at the base is tucked underneath that frame. Now I want to fashion the tie that will allow us to hang this organizer as well as secure it when it is rolled up. So I have here a long cut, which I call a full cut when the fabric is on the bolt there. So it's either going to be 44 inches or perhaps 52 or 56 inches long, depending upon your fabric. You will have extra of this. I just want you to have a lot of leeway. So take a 2-inch wide full cut of fabric and press over the short ends on each end, and then press that in half long ways. Bring those outer edges inward to meet on that center press line and fold that over again. You're going to stitch all the way down this open edge of the strap. Okay, so once you have your nice long strap here that has 2 finished edges, and I just want to give you a little better idea of how long this is. It is 44 inches now. I'm not going to use all of this, so if you have a shorter length, please feel free to use that. Minimum amount of strapping that you would need would be about 25 inches. Okay, and you could also substitute with a nice heavy ribbon, could be good as well. All right, so the first thing that we want to do is trim off I would say about a 6-inch cut of this. And this is what we are going to be attaching the ring to that will allow this organizer to hang up. This ring also aids in closing the organizer. So just take that finished edge and fold it over the ring and then stitch that in place. I overlapped that by about 2 inches. The raw edge is going to get tucked under the frame, so just stitch close to that finished edge and back stitch to reinforce well. And then if you have the capability, I highly recommend installing a rivet where you attach the 2 pieces and then another rivet just below the ring. If you do not have the ability to reinforce this strap with rivets, go ahead and add an extra row of stitching about a 1/2 inch down from the ring. I will be installing rivets on this piece, so I am not going to add the additional stitching. All right, then we want to take the remaining bit of strap here, and I'm going to cut off a 24-inch cut here. So I have my finished end at this end. I have made others where I cut off a 20-inch and a 19-inch, and both worked. But in a perfect world, you would have the 6 and the 24, okay? So one end is finished and one end is raw. Same for here, one end has the ring and one end is raw. I want to lay the strap with the ring on top of the longer strap, and I want to tuck that in at center under the lip of this frame. And I am going to go ahead and reinforce that with a bit of stitching right now. And so my thread matches my fabric perfectly. So that little bit of stitching is not going to pose me any cosmetic problems. If your thread is contrasting and does not match, try to stitch within 1/8 of an inch of the lip there, because what we're going to do next is move slowly around this frame as close as we can get to the edge of that frame all the way around this. So basically, if you're coming from the outer edge, that's going to be probably 7/8 of an inch seam allowance for you. I don't worry so much about the seam allowance as just keeping my eye right on the edge of this little frame here or that lip and stitching as close as I can. When you get to the corners, you're going to sink your needle and pivot so that you can keep a nice even seam allowance. When you get to these portions here where you have tucked the short edges under, go ahead and back stitch to reinforce that. So just go nice and slow all the way around this, and I'm going to start at this top short edge, and I'm coming in as close as I can to the edge of that frame without going over. Okay, so I have made it all the way around my frame here with a very scant seam allowance, and I have successfully captured the little short edges of each pouch. On both sides, I backstitch just a bit at the beginning and the end of each pouch to reinforce. I am confident that the pouches are securely attached because they are captured in the seams on the short ends, and then there is also the additional row of stitching down the center here. An option you also have, if you would like even more assurance, would be to fold each pouch over and stitch down the right and the left hand sides before you insert that lining panel. I really don't think that that is necessary though. So I would like to show you now how this functions. So you can put your contents in each pouch. I am currently using this as my makeup pouch, and I love it because I can put like foundation and powder in here, eyes and liners in here, and then the little finishing details or tools like eyelash curler, tweezers, things like that in the third pouch, and it's really proven to be a wonderful system for me. So that zipper's a little sticky there. I might add a drop of oil to that. So after you get them all zipped up, and you can see they have a lot of body and stability, that's why we want to select a home decor or a nice canvas or duck cloth for this project, so we don't have to use the interfacing with the exception of the center panel there. And first I'll roll it up as if it were empty. Here, it goes like that. This longer strap comes around and then feeds through the O-ring like that, and you can then tuck the strap again through the O-ring, or you can tuck it under on itself, and it's ready to be packed or put in the drawer. Now likewise, let's say that the contents are full. I will not smash that down as much. You still will require the length on that strap, so that's why you should make your strap a little longer, and again it just slides right through that ring and you can tuck that over, and you have this great little bundle that you could store pretty on your counter. You can even stand it up at this point, or you can leave it on its side. This, I think, will make a wonderful organizer for your creative spaces. It will hold the rotary cutter and the little scissors, and you can put your hardware, your clips, all kinds of fun things. The seam ripper, maybe you just want to use it to organize your hardware. And then one of my favorite features is the ring, because you can hang this up as well. This will fit over the lever handle doorknobs. You may have hooks on the wall or over the door hangers in which you could hang this up. Another thing that I really love about the design is this little space in between functions as a wonderful workspace. So let's say there were hardware in here. You could put the various pieces of the snaps on the outside here, and then maybe set your little snap tool over here, and you could work with the zipper compartments open or shut, and you have a little nice workspace so that you don't lose, say, that remaining snap prong until you're ready to work with it. So it's a fabulous design. I hope you enjoy making this. Don't forget to share photos of your finished projects with me. I'll put the links to my social media accounts down in the notes. And before we say goodbye, I just would like to give you the finished measurements on this awesome piece. So finished, it is 16 3/4 long by 6 3/4 wide, and then when it is rolled up, we have a depth there of approximately 3 inches. Well, I just want to thank you guys for sewing with me today. This was so much fun. If you are a member of the Studio 365 group, this is going to be a bonus challenge for you in the month of January. So after you stitch up your roll-ups, please be sure to mark the challenge complete. You will find your complimentary copy of this PDF in the resource section of Studio 365. If this is the first you're hearing about Studio 365, I will include a link for you with more information. So please do check it out if you're interested. For the month of January, I am offering a 1-month free trial if you'd like to just see if it's a good fit for you. I'll include that coupon code and a link for you to redeem down in the notes as well. So again, thank you for sewing with me today. I hope you enjoy the project and that you have a wonderful week, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye, everyone.